A very good afternoon to all of you, and my sincere thanks to also India Habitat Center, Ambassador Bhaspati Mukherjee and her team for this opportunity. Nalanda, first of all, I must tell you this thing that I come from Nalanda, and that's why this book. And this book is not merely about what was Nalanda, how did it start, who were the great masters of Nalanda, but the book is titled How It Changed the World. We often try to take ourselves not very seriously, and this book is an intervention to showcase in what ways Nalanda has shaped our modern world, which we are so unaware of. So when I was growing up in Nalanda, my mother is here, and my parents, they would often take me to the ruins of Nalanda, and every time I visited the ruins, I was told that you see that large structure, the largest structure, which is actually temple number 3. That's the library, and it burned for 6 months and so on. Beyond that, there was hardly anything which we learned from the guides or from local legends. It was just that much. And so we would have a good time in walking around the ruins and come back. So it was actually very late when I visited Nalanda about 2 years ago. I got curious that what was it? When was it? How was it founded? As most of the historians tell us, was it founded in the 5th century AD by the great Gupta emperors? Or is it much more older? And so this curiosity led me to find more details about Nalanda. And I don't know how many of you have heard the name of Sariputra. Anyone? Yes. So there are still few people who know about Sariputra. But Sariputra is the main character leading to the establishment of Nalanda Mahavihara. So the history goes back to the place I come from. It goes back to Rajgriha, the first capital of Magad. So Buddha, when he got enlightened in Bodh Gaya and gave his first sermon at Sarnath, he came back to Rajgriha because Rajgriha was the political and economic center of that time of India. And Buddha was not only a great, an enlightened person. I also find him a great strategist, because to found a religion, it's not merely your ideas, and it also requires, I think, lots of political acumen. So Buddha came to Rajgriha, and King Bimbisar of Magad gifted him a bamboo grove called Benuvan, which had a pond for him to bathe and to preach. And it was at Benuvan that he met Sariputra, who was from Nalanda, with his friend called Mogdliana, who was his childhood friend. They were both childhood friends from Nalanda. And Buddha, when he found that these two are disciples of a rival philosopher called Sanjay Belatthiputta, he was very keen that they become his two chief male disciples. And Sariputra joined Buddha with 500 of followers of Sanjay Belatthiputta at Venuban in Rajgarh. And that's the beginning of Buddhism. Sariputra is known as Dharma Senapati, or the general of the Dharma. And 300 years later, after Buddha's Mahaparinirvana, Samrat Ashok, Emperor Ashok, he builds a stupa for Sariputra at Nalanda. Because he was from Nalanda and he achieved his nirvana in Nalanda, and founds a college, or vihara, rather we should call it vihar, because college happens much later. So along with it, and that's the nucleus of the great monastery of Nalanda. So the highest structure, which if you visit the ruins today, which they often tell you is the library, is actually the stupa of Sariputra, which has been constructed in 7 phases over a millennia. And from a stupa, it actually became a chatya, or a temple. And that is the chatya around which the whole university campus grows. So it's almost 1,000 years from the founding of the vihara, the first vihara at Nalanda. You have the great Gupta king Sakravidya, or Kumar Gupta I, establishing a concrete or a proper concrete vihara, which is still there, traces of which could be still archaeologically located. And that's why most of the people think that the University of Nalanda was founded in the 5th century AD. But its origin goes much further back to Ashoka's time, and the structure which was built during the modern period has been archaeologically excavated. So you can read the reports of the Archaeological Survey of India and find how that's the nucleus over which the whole stupa have grown. So that's the beginning of this. And then what happens that you do not have colleges and universities anywhere in the world till we come to 12th century. So how does the idea of a college and university come into picture? So there is a scholar whom I have widely mentioned in the book, Christopher Beckwith. And Christopher Beckwith, through his research, his book has a book called Warriors of the Cloisters. He talks about how the college evolved. So the modern college evolves from a madrasa in Central Asia. And these madrasas are nothing but the Buddhist viharas, and how they get turned into madrasas, and the idea travels from Central Asia towards the Arab world, and from Arab world to Europe. And how the first colleges in Europe, in France particularly, it's called Collège des 18. With your French knowledge, ma'am.
18.
Yes. You would know. So that's the first college gets founded in Paris. And that's a journey. You can read the book of Christopher Beckwith, or you can read Dalrymple's book, The Golden Road.
Yeah.
But what I do that, I have further worked on that theme and shown that how the vihara structure, the structure of a vihara, the architecture of a vihara gets standardized at Nalanda. And travels from the modern Nalanda to other places, including Central Asia, from where it travels to Europe. So that's my contention, that for a university or a modern university, you required an international faculty, you required international students, you required a campus, and you required resources, committed resources, patronage, and that's what a modern university was. Christopher Beckwith, in fact, also tells us this, that what evolved in Europe was not university, but universitas, which were the guilds basically, which could give degrees, but did not have anything which has to do with a modern university. And how the colleges and universitas married each other and the idea of a university came. So that's how I contend that the idea of a university actually evolved at Nalanda from its journey from a Mahavihara established by Emperor Ashoka to Mahavihara in 5th century AD. You have to see the video to see the structure of Nalanda, how massive it is. So, and that's only 10% of the site excavated. The other ideas which I talk about in this book is also the contribution in mathematics, particularly with the contribution of Aryabhat. And Aryabhat in 5th century AD is the first person to use 0 as a digit, and also work out the value of pi up to the 4 decimal points. His contributions in algebra, what we know later as algebra and algorithm and sine functions, they are used by another great Indian mathematician, Brahmagupta, who is from Mount Abu. Later in 3 centuries later, and then that book, which Brahmagupta writes, gets further translated into Arabic as Sindahin, and later, the idea travels to Europe. So you have to read the book to get to know all the contributions of Nalanda. But Nalanda's contributions are immense in the field of not only in mathematics but arts, medicine, the manuscript culture itself. Particularly the Tibetan manuscript. I tell the story of a prince called Thonvi Sambhota, who comes from Tibet, studies at Nalanda, and carries invents actually the Tibetan script, which he uses the Gupta scripts which are followed at Nalanda. There are many more things in this book, but I leave that for the discussion. Thank you.